So far this season, the 2017 Groundtrax Northern Off-Road Championship has seen 5 winners in 6 rounds, and a mix of outright speed and consistency has provided us with an exciting end to the season. With 2 rounds remaining, there's no sign of a clear winner, and with a handful of competitors all capable of taking the title, it would be anyone's guess at this point who will be celebrating in a few weeks' time. Round 7 of the championship would visit a new venue, a new challenge for our championship contenders, Preston Tower in Northumberland. And it would provide the crews with something different once again, a fast, flowing course. And it would favour the big power cars, but bravery and late braking would play a big part in the results and the spectacle this weekend. On to the first runs then, and it would be Robin Clarkson who ends the shorter opening day with the lead of the event. He'd have a good advantage by the end of the day, which would take the pressure off a little going into day 2.
Yeah, it's been good, really enjoyed it. Yeah, really good fun. Course is good. You've got to just pick your lines carefully, and that's where you get your times from, I think. But just being tidy and good. Car's good. Really enjoying it.
For Andrew West, it would be second place. The times were close to Clarkson by the end of the day, but he was already almost 40 seconds back and in a chasing position going into day 2.
Absolutely fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a close battle with Robin and Richard Copsey. I just sneaked into second overnight, so I'm really pleased with that. I've got my son navigating, he was only 16 earlier this week, so he's having a great time too.
Things were a little closer between second and third places. Richard Copsey and Mark Shaw taking that third place at this stage in the event, just 4 seconds back from West after 5 runs.
Loving the course. It's very fast, very flowing, lots of tricky bits, and it's rutting out a little bit now, but we've just done 4 laps at the exact same time. So we don't think we can squeeze any more out of the course at the moment, but I'm trying my best.
And the lead hadn't always belonged to Robin Clarkson. Anthony Jackson and Lauren Widdop had been leading by the end of run 3 with a small 8-second advantage. But sadly for them, clutch failure on run 4 and no spare to replace it would mean they're forced to retire and enjoy the rest of the weekend spectating and marshalling. And they wouldn't be the only ones falling to attrition this weekend. Huggy Farmer and Richard Rawlinson coming to this round in the lead of the championship. But sadly, things were not going to plan. Blowing the engine midway through the opening day wasn't exactly what they had in mind. Forced to retire after limping round the course.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've come into this round leading the championship by a very small margin, as main rival Cam Jones had problems with his engine, and it just seems to be Lady Luck's not looking on either of us. If you can see underneath, we've blown the bottom end of the engine, so that's us retired, and we're still leading the championship, but it depends on how Mr Canterbury does at this event too. See how we start going into the last round, which, in the words of Sean Wallace, is the last one shootout.
Simon Adams will be lucky to be at the event this weekend even. A big crash at the previous round, by all accounts, should have put the car and possibly himself out of action for some time. But testament to the strength of the car, it would be repaired and back out, with just the driver left to ensure the commitment was still there. 4th place will be where he ends the day, and of course leading the way in Class 2, so I think we can say he's fine.
It's alright, same as most though, we've sort of found the limit. My times are like sort of 5.9, 5.10, 5.11, and we can't really do much about it. It's sapping the power, the corners aren't digging out like I thought they would, so there's not a lot we can do. But yeah, going well, running in 4th, considering the car was, had to fully rebuild the car on Friday. Got here in the early hours of this morning, so yeah, pleased with where it's going.
If there was an award for the most miles travelled to the event, then Martin Cox would likely be in contention for it, coming all the way from Cambridge to be here this weekend. But that dedication to get here to the northeast will be paying off. 5th place at this stage, even if his mind wasn't fully on the racing just yet.
I just haven't got into it today. My mind's not really on racing. It's on farm work, which we can't get on with at the minute. It's so wet. We had a 7-hour drive up here, so we're tired before we even started. But yeah, it's going all right. I think I'm first in class, 5th overall at the minute. Got issues with the car overheating all the time, so we're just trying different things to try and get it cool. I sort of backed off a little bit for that. We're just going to carry on and have some fun and enjoy the weekend's racing.
Colin Stevenson ends the opening day with 6th place overall. Things were going well as he also holds the lead in Class 9 at this stage as well. For Matt and Edmund Elvin, it would be 2nd place in Class 9 at this stage. They were just a handful of seconds back from Stevenson in the class, and overall results with 7th place as well. And for Alistair Morton, it will be 2nd place in Class 2, actually ending the day on an identical time overall to Elvin, so it was still all to play for going into the afternoon. David Stephen ends day 1 just inside our top 10 with 9th place. He hadn't always had the best of luck this season, but things were seemingly going to plan for now. And rounding out the top 10 would be Chris Sainter, 2nd place in Class 2. The commitment through the corners will be giving him the speed needed on this fast course to get a result this weekend. In some of the places outside our top 10, it will be 11th place overall for Richard Cooper. The times would mean he ends the day with 3rd in Class 9 as well. And for Carl Gudgeon and Phil Ibbotson, it would be 12th place overall, just a single second behind Cooper up ahead. But as far as their own class battle was concerned, it will be 6th place in Class 5 for the mini pair. There's frustration with problems for Steve Hill and Steve Armand. Not terminal like the misfortunes of some this weekend so far, but an inconvenience nonetheless. They break the new sequential gearbox on the last run of the day by snapping the gear lever. They now had to put the socialising on hold and try to get the car fixed ahead of day 2. Ian Goodyear makes the very best of starts in the very popular Class 8 this weekend, ending the opening day with the lead in that class, as well as lying in 14th place overall. And it would be a good start to the event as well for John Rennie. He leads the way in Class 1 and with some good overall times to put him in 15th place. Aston Cox and Becca Clarkson would have a bit of a mystery noise coming from the car on some of the corners, but they wouldn't be able to find what it was after a bit of tinkering. They end the day with 2nd place in Class 8, 16th on the overall leaderboard. And with Anthony Jackson sidelined, there would be just 1 crew left in Class 6, so that honour would of course belong to this man Gary Reid at this stage. He would of course still have to get round the whole of day 2 before claiming that result at the end of the weekend, and as we've seen so far, that could be easier said than done. George and Jacqueline Bryson would be one of the many crews to think that there was something wrong with the car on the first run of the day. Perhaps something in the air here in the northeast. Feeling like they had a lack of power, it would in fact turn out to be the soft ground sapping that power away. They do reach the end of the day with 3rd place in Class 8 and 18th overall. Nigel Hales will be a further 17 seconds back on the overall results. 19th place on the leaderboard, lying 5th in Class 9 at this stage as well. Dean Hoskins and Tim Longfield would also be commenting on the power-sapping ground here in Northumberland, but they were enjoying themselves nevertheless. They end the day with 20th overall, 4th in Class 8. 5th place in that class, and a few seconds back on the times would be this man, James Stubbings. Catching that place would be the goal as the event goes into day 2. It could be quite a tall ask as well. James and Jenny Canterbury will be looking for a good result this weekend. The lead of the championship looking likely by the end of the event if they do. For now though, it will be 22nd place overall, 6th in the class. Stuart Anderson ends the opening day with 7th place in that class, just 4 seconds back from Canterbury at this stage. And for James Lofthouse, it will be a further 9 seconds back to his 8th place in the class, 24th overall for now. And for David Brose, it will be 9th place in the class. He would only be 3 seconds back though in that place. The times in the class very close at this point in the leaderboard. And indeed, for James and Ben Davidson, it will be 10th place in the class. Themselves a little further back, but still only 25 seconds off that place ahead. Craig Mason would have the advantage in Class 3 at the end of the opening day, and it would be a significant one in that class as well. For Gavin Dunn, meanwhile, it will be 11th place in Class 8 and 28th place on the overall leaderboard, around 20 seconds back from Davidson ahead of him in the class. And behind them would be Glynn and Gemma Smith, 12th in the class, but with almost 2 minutes of a gap to Dunn up ahead. For Alan Bland, it will be 2nd place in Class 1. The class victory not looking likely based on today's times, but that wouldn't rule it out if anything happened up ahead. Frustration, though, for Mark and Sarah Casely. Things hadn't quite gone to plan. A new car for the pair this weekend, and things had started well with the times well inside our top 10. But frustratingly for them, a maximum on the final run of the day would put them down in 31st place overall. Thankfully, still 3rd in the class, though. And Billy Cruikshank and Grant Miller would be one of only 2 crews in Class 4 this weekend. The lead of that class was theirs, 32nd place on the leaderboard as well. Sadly for Ben Middleton and Steph Taylor, it would be problems making the story of their day. The CV joint coming off the car and forcing them to take a maximum on run 3. Thankfully, they get it going again though and back out racing. And there would be problems too for Brian Marshall. Run 2 coming to an end halfway round the course, needing a tow back himself, a maximum on this run, putting him down in 36th overall. Sadly, as far as the fight and the leaderboard was concerned, we would lose a few more crews before the end of the day. Robert Scott making it as far as the final run before calling it a day. And Paul Wilde sadly wouldn't get that far, making it round the opening run only to retire soon afterwards. So a tricky, exciting and already eventful opening day complete. This is how the top of the results are looking going into day 2. On to the second day then, and a look at how the morning's results changed, or in the case of the lead, didn't. Robin Clarkson still leading the way at the midpoint on day 2, still maintaining that buffer of time as well in the lead should he need it. For Andrew West, it would be 2nd place. He was keeping the pace with the leader, but sadly, with the course being so fast, for him at least, there wouldn't be anywhere to gain. He'd just have to wait and see if there were any problems up ahead. But of course, also keep an eye out from behind. West's biggest threat at the moment would come from this man, Richard Copsey, Mark Shaw alongside. They'd end the morning only 2 seconds back in 3rd place, but that could have been a different story had it not been for clutch problems in the second run of the morning. They do get things sorted and back out, but sadly for them, there now would be no more advance on that lead, or at least not looking very likely. There wouldn't be any change in 4th place either for Simon Adams. 17 seconds back from Copsey at this stage, the course proving just a little bit too difficult. Easy to lose time, but not so easy to gain it. No change at this stage for Martin Cox. The times were gradually improving as the morning went on, recording his fastest time on the final run of the morning, but he'd be 26 seconds back from Adams for now. The times have been pretty consistent for Colin Stevenson throughout this weekend. Only 8 seconds of an average over the times from yesterday and today. He remains in 6th place, 1 minute back from Cox. Meanwhile, David Stephen will be the first of the crews on the results to actually gain a place on day 2, moving up to take 7th place overall now. 19 seconds back from Stevenson as well. That place gained for Stephen means a place lost for Matt and Edmund Elvin. They unfortunately drop a place down to 8th, but the times were still good. In fact, they were putting in steady, identical times on the most of the runs this morning. There'd be some places gained though this morning for many of the crews. Chris Sainter, for example, will be one of those, moving up to 9th place on the leaderboard now, still lying 2nd in his class. And for Richard Cooper, it will be a move up to round out our top 10 overall now, as well as lying 3rd place in Class 9 at this stage too. Day 2, though, wouldn't be kind to everyone. we'd lose Carl Gudgeon and Phil Ibbotson in this morning's runs, retiring on the 3rd run of the morning. Outside the top 10, it will be 11th place for Steve Hill and Steve Armand. They'd repaired that broken gearbox from the first day of competition, but things were less than perfect. Missed gears will be happening often, and the repairs to the gear lever was still not 100%. They still needed the finish, though, to maintain their championship hopes. For John Rennie, it will be a place gained overall, but no change to the Class 1 lead at this stage in the event, lying in 12th place now. Gary Reid would have gained a place overall too, lying in 13th now, and of course still holding on to that Class 6 lead. No change for Ian Goodyear. The Class 8 lead was looking like a good one, opening up a little more of an advantage in that position and lying in 14th place on the overall leaderboard. Nigel Hales, meanwhile, gains a bit of time on the overall results to move up to 15th, remaining 5th place in Class 9 at this stage in the event too. George and Catriona Bryson were doing exactly what they needed to do this weekend. Their eyes were on the Scottish Championship, which joins the Northern Off-Road Championship on this round. They lie in 16th place overall for now, 2nd in Class 8, and certainly holding their own. Aston Cox and Becca Clarkson would drop a place through this morning's runs. Bit of a frustrating end to the morning. 17th place overall, 3rd in Class 8 now. And with the loss of Carl Gudgeon and the changes up ahead, it would mean everyone else on the results would be gaining overall. And for Dean Hoskins and Tim Longfield, it will be 18th place at this stage, also lying 4th in Class 8. And it would be a further 12 seconds back to Stuart Anderson, who lies in 5th place in the class at this stage, 19th on the overall leaderboard. James and Jenny Canterbury were still doing what they needed to do this weekend for the championship. Leaving here with the lead was looking very likely now. And Craig Mason would still hold the lead in Class 3 at this stage, ending the morning with 24th place overall too. It will be 2nd place in Class 1 still for Alan Bland. The gap to the class lead was growing, but the overall pace on the results was certainly looking good. The results looking better for him now. Ben Middleton and Steph Taylor would remain the same in these runs. 28th place on the leaderboard, 2nd place in Class 3 for the pair. And with nobody else left in the class, it was a fight against themselves. It will be the Class 4 top spot, though, for Billy Cruikshank and Grant Miller still at this stage. Mark and Sarah Casely would badly suffer with another maximum in this morning's runs, not helping their overall times at all, of course, but they were still lying 3rd in Class 2. And we'd lose Alistair Morton from the results in this morning's runs, retiring on the 2nd run of the day. So we have just the final part of the event to go. It's no change at the top of the leaderboard, but the times were close, and anything could happen into the dying stages of this event. Onto the final runs of the event then, the final results. And it will be 31st place overall for Billy Cruikshank and Grant Miller, taking 1st in Class 4, although a couple of maximums at the end of the day would push that overall result down. For Brian Marshall, it will be a 30th place overall finish to end the event, 12th in Class 8. And Alan Bland still ends the event with 2nd place in Class 1. Not able to challenge that class lead, but taking 2nd place very solidly, as well as 29th on the leaderboard. For Glyn and Gemma Smith, it will be the place above, 28th overall, as well as 11th in the class. Ben Middleton and Steph Taylor, meanwhile, would end the event with 2nd place in Class 3. A good end, moving up the overall leaderboard into 27th. And with their earlier maximum times behind them, it would be a much better afternoon for Mark and Sarah Casely. They were putting in the times, but they would have to settle for 26th place overall. Nigel Hales would drop a place overall in the final runs, ending the event with 25th place, 5th in Class 9. For Gavin Dunn, it will be 10th place in Class 8, ending the event with 24th on the leaderboard. Craig Mason, though, will be putting in some consistent times throughout the weekend. Not enough, though. He'd lose a small amount of time with the spin in front of our cameras. Thankfully, not doing any harm to the Class 1 lead that he takes with him to the finish. For James and Ben Davidson, their best time was behind them this morning, but their afternoon times were looking good, consistent enough at least to take 22nd overall and 9th place in Class 8. David Brose would end the event just 3 seconds ahead of Davidson on the results overall, and in the class as well, meaning 21st and 8th in the class. It's a good result this weekend for James Lofthouse, seeing him leave the event with 7th overall in the championship. But for today, it will be 20th overall, 7th in the class. James and Jenny Canterbury kept things neat and tidy, doing exactly what they needed to do all weekend, and leaving round 7 with the lead of the championship. All eyes then would be on this pair at the final round in a few weeks' time to see what they could do. Stuart Anderson gains a place in the final runs, taking 18th place at the end of the event, as well as 5th place in the class. And for Dean Hoskins and Tim Longfield, it will be 17th place overall. They take 4th in the class, ahead of Anderson by just 10 seconds. Aston Cox and Becca Clarkson reached the end of the event with 16th place, taking 3rd in the class with that result. And it also means that Aston lies 5th in the championship standings overall now. George and Catriona Bryson do everything they needed to do this weekend. Another pair getting exactly what they wanted from Northumberland, taking victory in the Scottish Championship, and in the event overall it will be 15th place for the pair, as well as 2nd in the class. There'd be no change to that Class 8 lead in the final stages of the event though, as Ian Goodyear managed to keep hold of that class right through the event, taking victory this weekend. Gary Reid manages to keep things going to the finish just to take that Class 6 win, with it 13th place overall, and his championship certainly not over. And for John Rennie, it will be the Class 1 win this weekend, ending the event with 12th place overall. Steve Hill and Steve Armand will be happy with their finish this weekend, 11th place overall and 4th in the class. That will be enough to keep their class place safe in the championship, but they'd have some work to do with the gearbox before that final round. On to the top 10 then, and it would be Richard Cooper rounding out our top 10 this weekend, taking 3rd place in Class 9 with that result too. It will be a great finish for Chris Sainter, 9th place overall, 2nd in the class for him this weekend. And for Matt and Edmund Elvin, it will be 8th place to end the event. The times have been good all weekend, and the pair also take 2nd place in Class 9. For David Stephen, it will be a welcomed finish and a good result too, taking 7th place overall, as well as 2nd in Class 5. Colin Stevenson takes the Class 9 victory this weekend. The times have been good, the class win also getting him 6th place on the overall results too. There'd be no change though for Martin Cox all weekend. 5th place after a pretty consistent run was where he started, and that's where he would finish. A good result though, the times still close up ahead. For Simon Adams, it will be 4th place this weekend. The car had proven its pace on the fast courses as well as the technical ones this season, but this weekend just wasn't to be, just missing out on those podium places. And in those podium positions, well, it will be all change. We see Andrew West ending the event with 3rd place. Power steering problems would slow progress a little, meaning that the close battle to keep hold of that 2nd place would sadly come to an end. 3rd place, though, was a great finish after a resolving fight at round 7. So that, of course, meant that it would be a 2nd place finish for Richard Copsey and Mark Shaw. They had their own problems during the event, of course, but they managed to edge ahead to take that 2nd place. And with it, they go into the final round of the championship in the 2nd placed points position, all to fight for next time out then. But for this weekend, It would be victory for Robin Clarkson in the event overall. This result wouldn't change the championship fight, but it would be a good end to the weekend for what was a good battle out there on this new course. So confirmation then of the results at the end of this grueling and pretty exciting event. That top three just changing in the final runs of the day, showing just how close the championship has been this season. Points from this round then confirmed that James Canterbury leads the way going into the final round, but he'd have a handful more, all looking to take that back from him.
Yeah, it's been really good. Weather's been brilliant, course has been brilliant, organisation's been good, competition's been really good, but good fight between everybody. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it, really good. So
very happy with that result. Yeah, the car did exceptionally well. We just lost the clutch on one of the round, but not too bad. Kept it going, just used sequential gearbox. Hats off to Robin. We couldn't catch him this weekend. He were on fire. He were absolutely top lad. Andy West, unfortunately, we've just pipped him because he lost his steering. Power steering went off, so it's been quite an even Stevens course really. A bit of mixed terrain, a bit of everything for everybody, I think. But yeah, it's gone really well. Happy with that.
Yes, I'm really pleased with that. I've had one or two reliability issues over the year, but yeah, I'm really pleased with third. I lost power steering on one run and just lost me about 15 seconds, so Richard Copsey managed to get in front of me. But on the whole, I had a great weekend. Loved it.